Morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great morning. Good morning, Nell. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. My name is Bren Lopez. I'm the manager of Children's Book World in Los Angeles. And Nell Beckerman is one of our favorite authors. And we consider her one of our store authors because I hope we're your community store, one of your community stores. Good morning, everybody. We're going to have a very special book talk celebrating the upcoming release of two new picture books from Nell Beckerman. When the Sky Glows from Beach Lane Books with illustrations by David Litchfield. Beautiful book. And Caves, which is from Orchard Books with illustrations by Kaylin Chalk. And those are beautiful illustrations too. They both of these books, uh, even though they're different illustrators, different publishers, but there is this feeling of them almost being the flip side of each other, even with the artwork. They're just so beautiful. We're so happy to have you here to share with us about it. Now, can you tell us about your journey as an author? What made you want? Well, first off, your childhood. I want to talk about your childhood because you had a mother who was a librarian and a father who was a scientist. And that must have influenced you on your journey in life, right?
Yeah. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. As you mentioned, I love Children's Book World so much. I've been coming since my kids were little, and seeing your big picture book wall of the new picture books that are always so curated and wonderful. And they're always all the picture books I'm most interested in seeing. And getting to see my first book up there was a thrill like no other, especially it was during the pandemic. So I just say thank you. I'm so excited to be
Oh,
here.
you're welcome.
Yeah. So yes, my dad was a biologist. He spent a lot of his career at UC San Diego and UC Davis, and then finished up at Oklahoma State University once I went to college. And my mom worked at UCLA. She was a research librarian, although she originally started as a young adult librarian in the Bronx. She was a huge fan of children's literature. She passed away. She didn't get to see me become an author, but yeah, having those two influences with book loving and words and nature loving science. I rejected them both and worked at MTV in my 20s. But, everything comes full circle. So once I had kids, I rediscovered the magic of picture books and also wanted to take them out to experience nature in the way that my dad took me out. So yeah, I try to say to parents, plant those seeds, even if it doesn't seem like they might be blooming. Those seeds, those roots grow deep, and you just don't know, where they will end up leading.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that because of the both of their careers that they instilled certain things in you that make you a great as an author, like observational skills from your father in terms of observing things in nature and the physical
Yeah,
presence of things.
yeah. You know what I'd say? Not only having a very observant uh, father in that way, I was also an only child, and
Mm.
there's just less distraction for better, for worse, when you're an only child, and there is more time to uh, be slow down, and you also have to make your own entertainment. So I think those two things combined with just the genetics of who I am and how I was born, um, yeah, that really stopping to look at things. And my dad and I would often just go out for a walk with no particular goal in mind and just notice things. I mean, I guess the goal was we'd go to the beach. When he lived in San Diego, we they seemed like epically long walks to me as a child. It was probably about 2 blocks. but um but yeah, we'd walk to the beach, and at the beach I would also make drip castles, and just I had a very unhurried childhood in my weekends. I didn't have like organized sports and that kind of stuff. It was just me and my dad, without a lot of pressure. It was a real gift to have that kind of time. My parents were divorced, and so I
Hmm.
spent weekends in San Diego with him, and during the week I'd be with my mom in LA. So yeah, I think having that really slow, present time with my dad and just being outside. We didn't have to go to far flung places. It was literally just walking from our house to the beach and being at the beach, that made me appreciate how much there is just right outside your door.
So that allows us to start. Let's start with When the Sky Glows, which is coming out very, very soon. And right, and
September
you,
13th.
September 13th.
Buy
And
100 copies, everyone.
that is always very, very
You're
helpful.
going to want to give this book to everyone you know. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, because this is the perfect book for all ages. It has, I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your interview, but
No,
I'm
it's
just so
okay.
excited about this book. It has poetry, and it also has nonfiction facts. So it has so many different levels that you can read it. And so it makes it perfect to give any age group. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
that's my spiel.
No, listen, I'm a big fan of nonfiction picture books that actually have a story or something that tells you, that feel like a picture book. Steve Jenkins used to do like these amazing, he would do these amazing picture books about science, but they were true picture books. And that's what I love
Mhm.
about your books, that they are actual nonfiction books with lots of facts and information, but they feel like a story with the beautiful artwork. You collaborate so beautifully with the illustrators. Now, your collaborator in this one is David Litchfield, and the illustrations are beautiful. Talk about the book itself and
Yeah. Well, so the book, so When the Sky Glows, is about all the different ways nature can make the sky glow, from sunrises and sunsets to full moons, things that everyone can see outside of their window, to the more special and exotic things like solar eclipse or the northern lights, or shooting stars, meteorites, rainbows, of course, lightning, and then things that you might not necessarily think about, like fireflies and lava eruptions. So uh, I was asking David, I was such a huge fan of his, mostly on Instagram. I actually didn't own that many of his books, but somehow I ended up following him. And whenever he posted his art, I would just stop because it is so breathtakingly gorgeous. And it often involves the people or the characters really connecting in some way.
Mhm.
And that was a big goal of this book, is for the reader to feel connected to nature, but also feel connected to the people that they might be witnessing these magical events with. I was really inspired to write this book by observing around me what happens when you see a rainbow. That I was in a wet parking lot during the pandemic when we're all very afraid of, we didn't know what was going on, and there was a giant rainbow over the grocery store parking lot. And my first instinct was just to look around to see who else is seeing this with me. And I made eye contact with a total stranger, and we both kind of smiled at each other. And you know, it that trifecta of nature, other person, connection was something I was really interested in capturing somehow.
Mhm.
And David's art, I felt, brought that same magical quality of rejoicing in the beauty of nature and emphasizing the connection that we have with others and just with ourselves, of just, I'm having this moment that feels special. So when I found out he was the illustrator, I nearly died. I was so excited.
I bet you did. I bet you did. I mean, that is like, there's nothing better than that when you actually feel like you've got that perfect collaboration going on. But there is so much emotion in his artwork and in the colors that he chooses, but also within the connection to your words and the simplicity but depth of the language that you use in your story as well. Um, when you talk about that, that's one of the things I love about nature. You have such a specific connected experience that is very personal at the moment that you're experiencing a sunset or a rainbow or a rain shower. But that is a group engagement. Everybody is experiencing the same thing in your vicinity or in your community, and they're all having their own personal reaction and engagement with that. That is the most beautiful thing to me. It connects us with the world in a very, very special way.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that. Can I show you one of my favorite pictures that kind
yes,
of
please.
illustrates that? So this is, oh, there's so many. There's so many amazing
There are,
illustrations in
yeah, there
here.
are.
But this one is about the fireflies. Just gonna read this one spread.
Mhm.
Along a wooded, no, I'm sorry, along a steamy wooded path when dusk descends. So there's a father and child going through their steamy wooded path. The sky glows. And so this
Mm.
one is all about fireflies. And I guess it's a little dark to share, but can you see there's the little people and they're
We
holding hands.
can.
You know, I just love that little detail that they're holding hands. And then here it tells you about fireflies. So it's just a little bit, it's just a little bit of learning, but really it's, you know, I was very intentional about writing for these page turns. So, you know, it's a reveal. It's like, what's going to happen this time? Which
Mhm.
actually is a really fun way to read it too with a child. You can say, along a steamy wooded path, when dusk descends. Ooh, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen when dusk descends? The sky glows, and it's, you know, David really got the power of the page turn and the way you can create almost a similar emotional reaction that you would seeing this in real life. That wonder and awe of being like, ooh, look at that. Um, Let me show you a brighter one that might translate a little bit better on a computer screen. Um,
And
you
it
know,
looks beautiful. It really does look beautiful when you pulled it up like that to be able
okay,
to
good,
see it.
good. It's
So.
hard to tell with computers. And when I was talking with David about making the book and asking, you know, what attracted to him to it, he was saying the adventureness, like that it's a trip around the whole world. So that's another layer of this book. It's not just about the connection and the nature and the nonfiction fact. The skies take place in different areas
Mhm.
all around the globe. So you're also going on this big trip around the world. So for things like sun, you know, we all have experienced sunrise, sunset, full moon, but for something like the Northern Lights, which neither I nor David have experienced in person, it's like, you know, books can take you on trips. And so he loved making this illustration. I loved seeing it. But so here's the Northern Lights one. Far from city lights, when the air feels fresh and frosty. And I love that he chose a puffin for that one.
Yeah.
That was not in the art note. He did his own research and decided to make that choice. The sky glows. And so you can see,
Yeah.
come on, come on,
Yeah,
come.
even the reflection in the puffin's eye
Yes,
of light is just beautiful. But you know, I want to say the all of your books, Down Under the Pier, your first book, and then these two, and then Caves, and then this book, all have that commonality about the shared experience of nature in the world, all over the world. This is a part of every element, every country, every place has some element like that, in the commonality of the human experience versus the conflicts or differences. Why is that important for you?
you know, it's something that is a continual theme in my writing, and all I can relate it to really is, as much as there is amazing about technology, like it's letting us do this right now. Amazing. So
Mhm.
technology can be used for connecting. I have a bit of a fear of the negative part of technology that distances and isolates us. And even to the degree that when I was a child, my for Christmas, my grandmother got me a ColecoVision and I burst into tears. I didn't want the ColecoVision. And to be honest, that Christmas night, I sat, I remember sitting, I think I was even like reading a book or drawing a picture, and I looked over and my mom was playing the ColecoVision, and like a tear slid down my face. I'm just super sensitive to um to things getting in the way of our connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I'm just, especially now, I've got, teenagers with smartphones and social media and all that comes with it, which, it's a complicated relationship for myself because how did I find David Litchfield on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram? So there's there's nothing, it's not all good or all bad. Embracing the messiness of it. But I do feel sort of a calling to be nature doesn't have the budget that Instagram does to promote itself. Nature doesn't have a budget. So I'm trying to do what I can to promote the magic of nature and to encourage people to go outside, to look up or to look down in the case of caves, or, in pier, to look under the pier. With pier, it's, yes, there's a lot of fun and flashing lights and stuff on top of the pier, the Santa Monica Pier. We have rides, we have games, but you know, there's no signs saying go down under the pier to look at the nature. So I try and make those signs and make that, that this is something you might find
Yeah.
under the pier. Isn't that cool and exciting? So yeah, that definitely drives the bigger picture of why I write is, I feel like this is my way to try to make the world a better place.
Well, and there's an equality about it as well. That an economic equality about it, and the idea that anybody can actually go under the pier to be able to have that experience, or go out and see the sunset or the sunrise, or go to nature, walk in, the woods, or nominal fees if you're in a national park or something like that. But it's something that that anybody can actually be able to do, or find a place within their community to be able to do that, versus we can't afford this
Right.
electronic piece of equipment, or so
Yep.
it's a beautiful message, I think, that's very powerful for kids who may not be able to have the modern day experiences of electronics and everything else that all kids are able to share. I want to talk about your writing, because you mentioned, when talking about bridging the gap from page to page within your story. What is your process in being able to think about that? Because you do not have the artwork already in front of you. You don't actually have any control over what that artwork is going to look like. So how do you go about that as an author, figuring out how you're going to separate the words and text?
That's a great question. And it's something that I really had to learn about when I became interested in writing picture books. My background is in TV. I was a producer at VH1 and MSNBC and Discovery Channel, Nickelodeon. So I did write and tell stories in that medium. And actually, now that I think about it, it kind of was a great training ground because in picture books, you're writing for pictures. In TV, you're writing for pictures too. It's not like I was writing magazine. Well, I guess magazine articles in it, but I wasn't writing novels. I wasn't writing books that don't have a visual element involved. I was in TV writing for images, and so I think I had a little bit of that in me already. But then I took a very good picture book writing class, two of them at UCLA Extension. I took one with Michelle Markle, who's, I know her books are in your store. She's a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic nonfiction writer.
Oh, she is.
So I didn't even realize at the time that when she was my teacher, I didn't really know who was my teacher. And looking back, I'm like mind blown that was my first teacher. And then April Halpern Whalen.
Wayland, yeah, we love
Yeah,
April.
yeah, she's amazing. And actually, she brought in someone from Children's Book World as a
Yeah,
guest lecturer from us.
yeah, and April, and I do talks with April sometimes. April is, yeah, she understands the picture book. She's such a great person for really instilling in her students the process of actually making a picture book and the importance of what you are doing when you create a picture book. Because for
Yeah,
many, your first contact for a child with the rest of the world sometimes happens within that picture book.
exactly. And as a student, she did a lot of in-class experiential exercises that really made me think of different ways you can start the writing process.
So let's talk about caves, because this is a book that I really love. I love the artwork by Kalen Schock. And I'm not sure if this is his debut book, or is it his debut book as an
Yeah, it
illustrator?
is. Yeah,
Oh, wow. It's really, really beautiful illustrations.
yeah.
But talk about this. What made you decide to do caves, this is one of my Carlsbad Caverns experience turned me into a caves lover for life, because it was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Uh,
So talk
I,
about caves.
I love hearing that. It's surprising to me how there's not everyone has been in a cave, which I kind of can't believe. But I grew up. My dad took me to caves, and so I assumed everyone had been in caves. And the way this book came about was my dad grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, and my family all gets together there every summer on Alligator Point. And it's a really special time for me to slow down and unplug. These are themes in my life, and the nature there is unbelievable. And I was just sitting on the screen porch, looking at the water, just thinking about the area. And I'd gone to see a cave with my dad that was about a 2-hour drive from where we were in Alligator Point when I was younger. And I was kind of contemplating if my kids would be up for a 2-hour drive to go see this cave. And then I had the depressing realization that I had never taken them into a cave. And then my head just went inspiration. And I just thought about caves and how much I love caves and how evocative they are and exciting and mysterious and adventurous, but they're really accessible. You don't have to be some like super in shape, you know, although there are extreme cavers and that's a whole world. There's plenty of caves that you can just walk into, on like a flat surface. And yet it feels like you've just entered a completely different world. And it's so exciting. So I started writing right on that screen porch. And it really, because they are so sensory, I'm so glad you've been in one. So, they're
Mhm.
cold and the
Yeah.
echoes and the moisture
Yeah.
and the sounds of like, what was that?
Hmm.
Just made it really fun to write.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what this is. It's a real invitation. Can I just read the first
Yeah,
one?
please do.
Okay. In the shade of the woods is a hill with a hole, beaconing black, goosebump chills, excitement and fear battle. Which will win? You want to go in. Do you dare? I love that. And you fans will recognize that there is a do you dare question in Down Under the Pier. So, and in fact, when this book was originally submitted to the Pier editor, she said, wait a minute, we've seen that question before. Like, oh yeah. But I think that's a theme I'm drawn to, is just exciting adventure that, do you dare do it? And so it was such a fun book to make into a sensory experience of adventure, and then also have the nonfiction learning about, stalactites and stalagmites and what is a limestone solution cave,
Hmm.
and learning about giant crystals. That was one very special cave in Mexico. And oh my gosh, I learned so much about Monaleti, which
Hmm.
is it's one of the a previously unknown relation to humans. What So many things about this cave. It's called the Rising Star Cave in Africa, where they found an incredible amount of fossils from a humanoid that previously we didn't even know about. And get this, it was 6 women who did all the excavation, because you had to scooch through this really, really tight opening that these women, because of their small size and their flexibility and their strength, and they're all scientists, could do. So, I mean, there's so many caves in this book. There's glowworms, there's bats. Um, I'm just so excited about this because it has that adventure of caves, which are, there's a lot of caves here in the United States, but it also takes you on a trip around the world, New Zealand, Africa, Mexico, and also with so many different cool subjects that can be
Yeah.
springboards for learning about fossils, learning about bioluminescence, learning about cave art, in France. So there is so much in this book, and so you're getting just, I don't know. I feel like I'm on QVC, but
No, it's true. I mean, I learned about the underwater caves in Florida that stretched for so long. I had no real clue about that. I thought that was so interesting. And also something about caves, it's sort of in there with the cave art, but people don't know that the caves were actually the earliest art galleries that
right. Yeah.
caves were not, there were caves that had art in them. They were not for food or cooking or anything else other than for the showcasing of the actual art, and that they can actually find in some of those caves places where there was some sort of light that was created through flint or other things that were specifically to be able to showcase the art within the cave. I just think it is absolutely everything that we've come to today with these beautiful picture books and telling stories began with caves in the earliest form of our humanity. It's so
So
interesting.
exciting. It's
It's
so
so
like
exciting.
researching this book was so fun for all the things you're pointing out. It's like
Yeah.
it's so exciting. And what I've learned with the caves research is about these handprints, that was, this is, pre-writing, before we knew how to write. That's how an artist would sign their work, is they would take dye or pigment into their mouth, put up their hand and blow it, and so you get an outline. And I just thought, what an amazing connection with kids. When you
Yeah.
think of all their early art, some of it is just handprints,
Hmm.
and I just felt like this is such a great way to, I don't know if you can see the kid has got their hand up, kind of connecting to that handprint. And just this is us, that those far, far away ancestors, like we have a hand, they had a hand. I don't know. It's just
No, I
all
think
this
that connection
connection.
is there. I mean, that's what makes all of their books work together so beautifully. Again, there is this universal connection between all humanity about our experience with nature. That doesn't change,
Yeah.
as traumatic and crazy as it can be, and to the extremes that it can be. It doesn't change our actual experience with nature. Is shared
Yeah.
all over the world, and that is such a powerful thing. I love that you again bring in, nonfiction into picture books, but with beautiful messages and stories and poetry within your actual text. And I think I hope you continue to be able to do that. There's so many kids
I'm
who
writing
love
them. They just, those
yes.
editors need to keep buying them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Have you had? What have you? Let's talk just before we finish up. I want to talk about what have you had reactions from kids about your books where you've really been like, wow, that really connected with that child about this particular
100%.
story.
So the only book I have out right now is Pure, and
Hmm.
as you know, it came out a few weeks into the pandemic.
Yeah,
So I really missed seeing kids respond. However, I was lucky enough to have friends and other people who did find the book share with me that after their kids read it, they said, I want to go under a pier. And then, even better, I would get pictures or videos of their kids under the pier. And I just felt like the amount of satisfaction that gave me was huge.
yeah,
Um, one family in Santa Monica, even made a whole beautiful video set to music where they're under the pier and they're referencing back the book. There's like, what are those? I think they're gooseneck barnacles, and I like that's those are called out in this book. And so just the fact that they were so inspired by the book, learned enough of the actual science and facts that it stayed in their head. It just makes me feel like it's a joyful learning experience, and I'm just grateful because that's what I want to do. I just want to make learning fun and just learning about the world like inspiring.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen, and you're going to have kids waking up early in the morning to see the sunrise, and you're going to have kids begging to be able to go to the local caves so that they can, or exploring on their own. But that's the important message about caves. I'm so glad you did it multiple times. You never do it alone.
Yes. Well, I have to tell you, when this book went out on submission, it wasn't that far after the Thai boys soccer team having their cave mishap, and there was I was talking with my agent at the time that well, I really wanted to encourage people to explore caves, but obviously in a safe way. So it was walking a fine line of, do you dare go in, but only with another adult.
Only with
And
another adult. Yeah.
We do have in the back cave rules.
Yeah.
And yeah, and actually an illustration originally, it was a very dramatic illustration that started out with this one was just actually one figure going into a cave. And so I pointed out, well, wait, in the text we say never go alone. So let's add some people. And yeah, they did that. But what's really cool is that, so I know that right now there's a documentary about the cave, the Thai boys soccer team. And I mean, I've read these books too, like Christina
Soon Torn Bat.
Yeah, All 13. I mean, that book is so good. And I think this could be a great companion to kids that are interested in that story. And I've heard actually that already a kid has asked their parent to get this book because they saw the documentary and was interested in caves. So.
Oh, I think that's definitely going to be the case. Also, you're talking about caves, but and also even it's like the ocean or the forest. There is an element of danger about them that is which makes it thrilling, like a roller coaster, right? I mean, it's that thing of like, oh, I'm a little bit scared. But once you're in there and you experience the actual experience of being in the place and engaging with it, you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing. I'm going to do this again because this is the greatest thing in the world. And I will say, you also put in there, which I think is really important, that you share that cave with the other creatures that exist inside the cave as well, and the importance of being able to honor and protect the homes and life of the people who live in the cave. Bats, I know lots of people are scared of bats. Bats are one of the most important creatures in the world. Yeah, so beautiful.
I love what he did here with this.
Oh, gorgeous
ombre effect. I mean, oh my gosh.
And caves are homes to all of these bats who are so important for us and for how we live. Yeah, and you're in a cave when you smell the bat guano when you're walking in the beginning of the cave. So, Nell, it has been such a pleasure being able to speak with you today about your books that are coming out. I'm so excited for you. I know you're excited.
Thank you so much. I am super duper excited, and I'm so grateful to Children's Book World for helping me find readers for these books, and I hope to see everyone at my event. I really would love to meet you all in person. So please come, or if you can't, please order from the store and I will sign it personally for you. And this has been so fun. I could talk to you for a whole nother hour because I mean, this is just so fun.
It's great. And we're in the information for the event is actually here on this video. And you will also, there's links for being able to order books, signed books of all of 3 of your books, which we will have, and you can get personalizations and everything else, which is great. If you have enjoyed this crowdcast, we're also very excited because we are gearing up for our fall lineup, which is also going to include award-winning authors Celia C. Perez, Christina Soontorn-Vat, who we just talked about, Catherine Applegate, Alan Gratz, who's another great nonfiction person, and acclaimed musician Rhiannon Giddens, which we're super excited about her very first picture book. So, and you can visit us at childrensbookworld.com for more information. Nell, thank you for being a part of our store and part of the world of children's literature. Your books are really special, and we're so glad to be able to help share them with the world.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This was so fun.
Okay, see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.